There's a version of you still alive that's been quietly sabotaging every goal you've ever set. The one who quits when it's hard, who hides behind excuses, who whispers maybe later. And until you kill him, you'll keep living the same defeated story. Why? Because habits don't die. They must be destroyed. In a few moments, I'll show you how to bury that weak version forever and rise as the man who finishes what he starts. No more quitting, no more escape. You were not born to crawl. There's a version of you that still hesitates, still holds back when life calls. That version doesn't belong to the man you're becoming. It is a remnant of fear, a shadow of doubt, a ghost trained by failure. But you must understand this. You were never meant to crawl when your soul was designed to stand upright, face the storm, and walk through it.
The reason most men fail isn't because they're weak in strength. It's because they surrender in mind. They quit too early. They walk away when the work feels heavy. And so they live their lives in half measures, half dreams, half efforts, half alive. You must kill that weak version of yourself that bows to discomfort, that whispers, "It's too much." You do this not by force, but by decision. Decide that from this day forward, you will not crawl again. You will not kneel to your excuses. Rise, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Picture yourself alone in a field. No one watching, no one pushing, only you. And before you stands a heavy stone, the weight of your calling. The weak version of you will walk past it, complain about its size, and keep wandering. But you, the real you grip it, you strain, you lift, you build muscle, resolve, and identity.
Ask yourself now, how many moments have you let slip because you refused to lift? How many promises to yourself have you broken? What would your life look like if you simply did not quit? The man who changes his life is not the one who waits for strength. It is the one who moves forward, trembling if he must, but moving nonetheless. You don't lose the battle in the moment of attack. You lose it the day before, when you didn't prepare, when you chose comfort over structure, when you let your emotions vote on your actions. A weak version of you walks without discipline, but the stronger man, the real you, carries it like a shield. You don't rise strong by chance. You rise because you design a way of living that makes quitting impossible. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about power. Power over your body, your words, your days. It makes you reliable in a world of excuses. Most men only act when they feel inspired. That's why they rarely build anything of worth. But imagine a farmer who only sows when he feels ready. He'd go hungry. Now imagine a man who rises daily, sharpens his blade, tends his field, even in rain. That man eats while others wait. What rituals shape your day? Do you wake with purpose or drift with the wind? Do you study, plan, prepare, or are you always reacting? If you build a life of discipline, you won't need to summon strength in hard times. It will already be inside you. The weak version of you wants ease. The real you knows that ease is earned after discipline is mastered. Your word, sacred and unbroken. Weak men do not fall all at once. They collapse slowly under the quiet weight of broken promises. Not promises made to others, but the ones made to themselves. They say they'll rise early, but hit snooze when no one's watching. They swear they'll begin tomorrow, but when tomorrow comes, they find another excuse to delay. And with every excuse, they erode the foundation of their own future. That is how a life of regret is built, not in massive failures, but in soft moments of self-betrayal. Every time you say, "I will," and don't, you whisper to your soul that your word is meaningless, that you are not to be trusted, not even by yourself. And when a man cannot trust himself, he loses the ability to lead, to grow, and to rise. But the man who speaks with intent and follows through as if his word is law becomes powerful. He doesn't treat his promises as suggestions. He treats them as contracts with his own future. Your word must become sacred. Every time you say you will do something, you write a silent agreement with the man you want to become. The weak version of you breaks that agreement every day. He's not evil, just soft, undisciplined, distracted. He wants ease over honor. But the strong version, the one you are building, keeps his word like it's a commandment. You do not become that man by waiting for grand moments. You become him by honoring even the smallest commitments. If you say you'll walk 10 steps, walk 11. If you say you'll read 1 chapter, read 2. It's not about doing more. It's about proving that your word holds weight. Let your life over-deliver. Let your habits echo with strength. Let your actions prove that what you say will happen. Now imagine a younger man watching you, maybe a son, maybe a mentee, maybe the child you once were, still looking for someone to follow. What are you teaching him? That breaking your word is normal? That quitting is acceptable? Or that discipline is built on self-trust and greatness begins in silence with a promise kept? If your entire life was judged by the promises you made and kept, how would you measure up? Would you stand proud or shrink back in shame? A man of his word becomes a man of destiny, not because the world hands him power, but because he proves again and again that he can be counted on. Begin with the smallest words. Let your "I will" mean something again. Each time you follow through, you drive a nail into the coffin of that weak version who hesitates, delays, and breaks faith. Kill that quitter, and with every promise kept, become unbreakable. Discomfort, the forge of greatness. Comfort is the enemy. Nothing worthwhile has ever been born from comfort. No empire was built in a feather bed. No warrior was made in luxury. And no man, no real man, was ever forged by taking the easy road. The weak version of you seeks comfort like a dog chasing scraps, hoping for relief, begging for softness. But you must understand this deeply. Comfort will never make you strong. It makes you dull. It makes you unforgettable. And no sharp blade was ever forged in warm water. Growth demands suffering. Evolution requires discomfort. If you wish to rise, you must step where fear lives. You must walk the road with thorns beneath your feet, wind in your face, and doubt in your ear. That is where the transformation happens. Not when you are safe, but when you are tested.
Every time you avoid the harder path, every time you choose what's easy over what's necessary, you kill a piece of your own potential. You don't grow by staying safe. You grow by hurting with purpose. The greatest minds in history, those who reshaped the world, were not shaped in comfort. They were shaped in fire. While others ran from storms, they stood still. While others hid from failure, they walked into it. They didn't gain strength from winning. They gained it from not breaking when everything around them told them to fold. That's where strength is found, not in comfort, but in the trial itself. Think about what you've been avoiding lately. That difficult conversation you keep postponing. The workout you skip. The challenge you label as too risky. Why are you running? Because it's uncomfortable, because it stretches you, because it makes you doubt yourself. Good. That's exactly where you should go. That's the fire that will sharpen you if you let it.
Now, picture yourself standing in front of a cold, dark river. The wind is sharp, the current unforgiving. The weak version of you turns around, walks away, tells himself it's not the right time. But the real you, the one you must become, he steps in. Feet trembling, breath short, muscles tight, but with every freezing step he awakens. His blood moves, his spirit roars, his eyes sharpen. That river does not weaken him, it resurrects him. Your destiny doesn't live in comfort, it lives on the other side of effort. Every single time you choose ease, you delay your crown. Every time you numb yourself with pleasure, you weaken your edge, and soon the world forgets you ever had one. So ask yourself the hard question. Are you ready to suffer for what you believe in, or will you keep chasing pleasure and calling it peace? Are you ready to sweat, to bleed, to fall, and rise again because your mission is worth it? Or will you keep living for ease and dressing it up as joy? Comfort is not your ally. It is a prison made of softness and excuses, and every day you stay inside it, your greatness dies a little more. Kill that version of you that chooses comfort, and step into the fire where real men are made, failure. Your toughest teacher. Failure is not fatal. Quitting is. The weak version of you whispers lies every time you stumble. It's a stop. You're not good enough. This is the end. But that voice is not truth. It's fear wearing the mask of logic. It is comfort pretending to protect you. Because in truth, failure is not the signal to stop. It is the signal to begin again, wiser, sharper, stronger. Failure is your instructor, not your executioner. Only the man who quits loses. Everyone else grows, and the man who grows wins. You were not born to walk only smooth paths. You were not created to succeed on the first try. You were born to fall and rise again, until the world can no longer ignore your persistence. Think of a child learning to walk. He stumbles, he falls, he crashes into tables and topples over his own feet. But he does not say, maybe walking isn't for me. No, he gets up again. Because deep within him, before fear was ever taught, he knows that falling is part of rising. And so it is with your dreams. Failure only holds power over you when you allow it the final word. When you say, that's it, I'm done. You hand failure the pen and let it write your ending. But you were meant to edit that story, to rewrite it, to revise it through action, and to turn failure into a chapter, not a conclusion. Most men try once. They fall and they retreat. They go back to safety. They call themselves realistic and wear their regret like armor. But the ones who rise, the ones who endure the sting of falling and choose to stand up again, they inherit the crown of mastery. Think of a blacksmith at his forge. He shapes a blade from raw metal. He strikes, tempers, and cools it. But sometimes the blade breaks. Is that failure? Yes. But is it defeat? Only if he stops. The blacksmith does not walk away. He doesn't declare the sword unworthy. He tempers it again. He strikes again. He changes the angle, the fire, the pressure. He adapts, and that broken metal, reshaped by trial, becomes unbreakable. So it is with you. Ask yourself, what have you given up on too soon? Was it a goal you once chased with fire? A habit you swore to master? A dream you abandoned at the first setback? What if you had stayed one day longer? What if your next attempt was the one that turned the tide? How many victories are buried in your past? Not because they failed to happen, but because you failed to stay. The weak version of you fears looking foolish. He imagines the laughter, the judgment, the silent shame of failing again. But the strong version of you sees every stumble as a step forward. He does not fall back. He falls forward. He does not hide his scars. He wears them as proof that he fought, endured, and never gave up. His scars do not speak of defeat. They speak of courage. You are allowed to fail. You are allowed to hurt. You are allowed to fall face first into the dirt. But you are not allowed to quit. Not if you truly want it. Not if you believe in your future. Not if there is even a spark of purpose left in your chest. So kill that quitter. Kill the version of you that retreats at the first blow. Stand up, wipe the blood from your chin, and try again, because every time you rise, you get closer. And one day, not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, the world will see what you've become. Fall, rise, repeat, until you're unshakable. Decision, the only true motivation. You don't need motivation. You need a decision. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for the wind to carry your boat to shore. It might come and it might not. And if it doesn't, if the breeze never shows, you'll float endlessly, watching the coastline, but never reaching it. The weak version of you waits like this. He tells himself he'll move when he feels ready, when the stars are aligned, when the fire inside magically lights. But real strength doesn't wait. It acts. The stronger version of you, the one who's silent, disciplined, and determined, knows that movement must come before feeling. Action first, emotion later. This is the trap. You believe something outside of you will give you permission to begin. You believe a spark must arrive before you can build the flame. But in truth, the spark is in your action. And if you never strike, you never light the fire. The man who waits for the perfect moment, the right mood, or the ideal energy becomes a relic, forgotten by time, buried by excuses. But the man who decides, who truly decides, he creates his moment. He doesn't need lightning to strike. He becomes the lightning. A real decision is not made with fanfare. It is not loud. It is not surrounded by cheering crowds or dramatic music. It is quiet. It is cold. It happens in a room with no one watching. What makes a decision powerful is not how deeply you feel it. It is how relentlessly you act on it day after day with no applause, no reward, just execution. That's what separates men who rise from those who rot in the prison of procrastination. One moves regardless. The other waits forever. What if your life transformed the moment you stopped needing motivation and started honoring your word? What if instead of relying on emotion, you chose integrity? Picture yourself waking up early, not because you're energized, but because you said you would. Picture yourself training, not because you're excited, but because you made a promise. Picture progress not as something granted by mood, but driven by honor. That's the version of you that builds legacies. The man who doesn't ask, do I feel like it today, but says, I do it because it's who I am. That is power. That is freedom. That is the end of weakness and the beginning of domination. Now ask yourself, what are you waiting for? Some external sign, some surge of inspiration, a moment that feels easy and effortless? Or will you finally become the force that moves itself? Every day you hesitate, the old you tightens his grip. Every excuse feeds him. Every delay sharpens his claws. But the moment you decide, the moment you cut off the need for motivation, you write a new chapter. You rip the script from his hands, and you begin to live with purpose, not permission. Burn this truth into your mind. Motivation fades. It vanishes in rain, in fatigue, in disappointment. But decisions remain. They are the bricks that build the fortress of your future. When motivation runs dry, decision keeps marching. When feelings collapse, resolve stands. Stop being a slave to moods. Stop waiting for the wind. Grab the oar. Cut through the water. Move because you command yourself. That's how you rise, not by waiting, but by willing. Not by emotion, but by execution. Kill the weak version of you who needs to feel ready and become the master who moves anyway. Your future, a mirror of today. Your future is watching. There is a version of you 5 years from now, waiting, watching, living in the house you are building with your actions today. He sees every morning you hit snooze, every excuse you allow, every promise you break, every time you choose distraction over discipline. And that man, your future self, is either proud of you or he's ashamed. There is no neutral. There is no pause. You are shaping him with every single choice, whether you realize it or not. But the weak version of you doesn't care. He only lives for the day. He wants comfort now. He says, I'll figure it out later. As if time is an infinite river that bends to his laziness. He forgets that every action is a seed. And one day, every seed will grow. Whether it's a seed of strength or weakness, that's entirely up to you. The man of discipline, the man of clarity. He understands the weight of his choices. He doesn't move carelessly. He plants each habit, each routine, each word with intention, because he knows the harvest is coming. He lives for that moment when the future version of himself can look back and say thank you, not for being perfect, but for being committed. So ask yourself, what kind of man are you becoming? Strip away the talk, the goals, the grand ideas. Look only at your actions. What do they say? Are you becoming sharper, stronger, or are you becoming softer, slower, and filled with silent regret? Now picture this. You walk into a room, it's quiet. In it, you meet your future self. One version stands tall, his shoulders firm, eyes clear. He worked through doubt. He chose growth over comfort. He showed up when it was hard. And now he owns his life. The other version, he slouched, eyes dull. His face is a map of what ifs and I wish I had. You don't need to ask which path he chose. It's written all over him. Which man do you want to become? Because here's the truth most ignore. Your future self is not a mystery. He's a mirror built by your daily behavior. Every workout you skip, every lie you tell yourself that you'll start tomorrow, it all counts. You cannot cheat your future. You cannot hide from it. It remembers everything. Even the smallest decisions are bricks in the foundation of who you are becoming. Wake up early and you train your future to be alert. Speak with honesty and you give him character. Choose discipline over distraction and you give him strength. It's not about giant leaps. It's about the quiet, repeated choices that echo forward in time. So the next time you want to quit, want to delay, want to indulge, pause. Look ahead. See that version of you 5 years from now. Hear his voice. Is he saying, thank you for not giving up? Or is he whispering, why didn't you try harder? You are always becoming someone. That's the inescapable truth. Every second you are sculpting a man, a king or a coward, a leader or a shadow. You can't stand still. The only question is, who are you choosing to become? Kill the version of you who forgets the future. Bury him in your discipline and build a life the future you will rise to salute. Self-respect, the unseen triumph. The weak version of you is impatient. He looks for validation in applause, reward, and recognition. If the world doesn't notice, he believes the work didn't count. He assumes that if the results don't show instantly, the effort was wasted. But that mindset is poison. It turns discipline into discouragement. It turns noble work into self-doubt, and it kills the very thing that makes a man strong, his belief in the value of his own effort. A man of strength, however, does not beg for eyes to witness his grind. He doesn't check the scoreboard after every rep. He doesn't perform for cheers. He works for something deeper, something quieter, something sacred. He understands that real progress is often invisible, that true transformation happens long before the world applauds. And sometimes, even if it never does, you must learn to value the hidden things, the silent repetitions, the early mornings when the world sleeps, the late nights when you finish your tasks in exhausted silence, the moments you choose effort, even when no one is watching, because all mastery begins in the shadows. The strongest roots grow underground. The most powerful structures are anchored by foundations the eye never sees, and the greatest men were built long before anyone knew their names. What would your life look like if you clapped for yourself after every honest day's work? What if you gave yourself permission to feel proud? Not when others approved, but when you knew you had given everything. Imagine ending your day looking in the mirror and saying, that mattered, even if no one else noticed. That is self-respect. That is where real confidence is born, not from applause, but from earned action. Most people quit not because they are lazy, but because they believe their labor is meaningless. They work hard, and the world stays silent. They sacrifice comfort, and there's no gold medal at the finish line. So they assume it wasn't worth it. But what if they were wrong? What if every single act of effort, every rep, every step, every page, every hard decision was building something bigger than they could currently see? What if the reward just hadn't arrived yet? Ask yourself, how many things have you walked away from simply because they didn't feel rewarding at the time? How many dreams did you abandon because they weren't immediately profitable? How many habits did you break because the progress was invisible? The truth is, reward often shows up late. Mastery arrives in whispers, and greatness usually enters through the back door. But respect can be earned today, not from others, from yourself. You earn it with discipline, with consistency, with choosing effort over ease, especially when no one else sees. Every time you show up, every time you push forward, every time you decide, I will do this anyway, you become a man who respects himself. And a man who respects his effort never quits on himself. This is how you build unshakable self-worth. Not through fame, not through money, not through likes or praise, but through silent, steady, earned action. Let the world ignore you. Let them sleep on your name. You keep building, you keep grinding because you know that the invisible work is the real work, that the things no one else sees are the things that define who you are becoming. So if no one claps for you, clap for yourself. If no one sees your sacrifice, see it yourself. And when the weak version of you starts whispering that it's not worth it, that your labor is lost, silence him with action. Prove to yourself that your discipline is not a performance. It's a promise to your future, to your purpose, to the kind of man you are committed to becoming. Kill that version of you who disrespects effort. Bury him beneath 1,000 acts of unseen excellence and rise quiet, powerful, unstoppable. Purpose, your antidote to fatigue. You're not tired, you're uninspired. Fatigue lies. It dresses itself in truth, but more often than not, it's deception. It tells you you're too tired to go on when really you're just too disconnected to care. Your body may be fed, hydrated, even well rested, but your spirit is starving. And the weak version of you takes that dullness, that lack of spark, and uses it as permission to stop. He doesn't investigate, he doesn't dig deeper. He just gives in and calls it exhaustion. But you must learn to look deeper. Fatigue is not always physical. Often it's emotional, spiritual, existential. It's the dull ache of a man who has forgotten why he started. You don't reignite your energy by lying down. You reignite it by remembering your purpose. That's what gives breath to the lungs, fire to the heart, precision to the mind. When you know why you are doing something, energy finds you, focus finds you. You don't collapse, you rise. You don't avoid the hard things, you pursue them because they matter. Ask yourself, what have you lost your fire for? Is it your dream, your discipline, your craft, your promise to yourself? And what is the story you now tell when you skip, delay, quit? Is it really that you're tired, or is it that your purpose has faded from view? Picture a man digging for treasure. Every day he swings his pick, the sun burns overhead. His muscles ache. Days pass, nothing comes. And then one day after another long shift, he sighs, "I'm tired," and sets the pick down. He turns his back and walks away. But what he didn't know, what he couldn't know, is that he was just one swing away from striking gold. That's what quitting steals from you. Not just the effort you wasted, but the reward that was inches from your grasp. So often what we call burnout is actually neglect, a dream untended, a fire ignored, a mission that once mattered, slowly buried beneath routine, distractions, and self-doubt. You stop watering it, you stop feeding it. And when it dies, you say, "I guess I'm tired." But deep down, it wasn't exhaustion. It was a soul crying for meaning. The next time you feel tired, don't just collapse into comfort. Ask yourself, is this weariness or wasted inspiration? Is this my body breaking down or my will checking out because I've forgotten what I'm fighting for? If your goal still burns inside you, even faintly, that is fuel. That is enough. Stoke it, feed it, fan the flame. Purpose will lift you in ways that rest never can. Boredom and burnout wear the same mask. They make everything feel heavy, slow, joyless. But boredom comes when your soul knows you were made for more, and yet you settle for less. It's not that you've done too much. It's that you've done too little of what matters. That's why everything feels so hard. The weariness you carry isn't from overwork. It's from working without connection. So reconnect. Sit with your dream. Speak with your future. Remember the man you said you'd become. Let him speak to you. Let his voice remind you that your fatigue isn't final. It's just fog. Walk through it. On the other side, there is fire again.
You don't need more sleep. You don't need another break. You need a reason. You need a cause that wakes you up before the alarm. A mission that makes you forget what time it is. A vision that sharpens your steps. Give yourself one.
Don't trust fatigue until you've tested it. Push once more, try again, and then ask, was I tired or just disconnected from my purpose? That question could change your life. Kill the version of you that surrenders at the first sign of heaviness. Bury him under your purpose, and rise, not with ease, but with intention. Not because you feel like it, but because you remember who you are and who you must become. Excuses, the language of failure. The weak version of you is fluent in one language, excuses. Too tired, too late, too busy, too hard. His sentences always begin with "I can't" and end with "maybe tomorrow." Excuses are his comfort blanket, wrapped tightly around a life of untapped potential. He doesn't challenge them, he believes them. And every time he speaks one aloud, he feeds a silent enemy that grows stronger with each utterance. Self-deception. But you weren't born with excuses. No child starts life saying, "It's too hard." They try, they fall, they cry, and they try again. You learned excuses from fear, from failure, from watching others give up. But what is learned can be unlearned. And it must be, because every excuse you entertain robs you of your strength. Every time you let yourself off the hook, a piece of your power quietly slips away. Keep that pattern long enough, and one day you forget you ever had any. You begin to believe the lie that you're not capable, that success is for others, that your dreams are unreasonable. But these are not truths. These are just well-practiced scripts handed down by the weaker version of you, the part that wants comfort over greatness, safety over success, survival over growth. The strongest men you admire, they aren't without flaws. They've stumbled, failed, and fallen like everyone else. But what sets them apart is not perfection, it's ownership. They do not explain away their setbacks. They examine them. They ask, "What can I learn?" Instead of, "Whose fault is this?" They choose responsibility over rescue, growth over excuse. Ask yourself this, how many of your excuses are actually true? Are you really too tired or just unmotivated?